Call the meeting to order, and we need to approve the minutes from the January 16th, 2024 Value Engineering Subcommittee. So we approve those.
Yeah, you can make the motion, and Jack.
Okay, yeah, that's what it says. It's just me and Jack. Jack, I make the motion to approve the minutes from the January 16th, 2024 Value Engineering Subcommittee.
I will second it.
Okay. You need to have any changes or add anything, Jack?
Nope.
Okay. I approve. I vote yes to approve the minutes. Okay. C to new business. Review and approve the construction document cost estimate and list of alternates. So we'll take it from, is Chris going to lead or?
Yeah, we can work on this together, but you see in your packet, it's attached the last page here, the cost estimate for construction documents that the third party reviewer did. And the great news is we are under budget. If you remember, our budget was 16 million. This one is $15,886,057. So there are no VE items that we have to cut out of the project. But we did want to address two potential bid alternates that Chris, we can have him explain here. But again, no VE items that we need to take out. So Chris, if you want to do like a high level
review of this.
Review, yeah.
Sure. So in terms of construction costs, which are starting at the top of the page, we broke them down, not purely by construction division, but kind of categories of major elements. So I won't go through all the numbers, but you can see the environmental abatement and demolition is 887,000. Going down to the bottom, some of the large numbers, HVAC, so mechanicals, heating, ventilation, air control, air conditioning, and electrical combined are about 4 million, 2 million each. And then site work is 1.2 million. But the bottom line for this construction subtotal is 13,323,000 roughly. On top of that, we're carrying $350,000 allowance, which is really a set aside for exterior repairs to the shell of the building. And these are items that are cosmetic in nature. So repointing, minor brick repairs, some minor stone repairs. And these are elements that are outside of what we would consider the base bid, but we're going to include unit pricing in our bid forms for the general contractors. So we may have an item that, for instance, lists repointing of the mortar at brick. And the contractor will need to provide us $1 per linear foot, and we'll give them a minimum quantity of linear feet so that they're not assuming it's going to be like 1 linear foot here and another one there. And that allows us the flexibility of once we get into the project and we know how much is left in the contingency and we start to, touch all aspects of this exterior shell, we can instruct the general contractor to repair this or don't touch that based on the condition we're seeing, as the building's peeled off of the 1928, the high school building as it's demoed, but also as we have a little more visibility up close to some of these elements. And again, just understanding what the overall dollars left in the project and contingency are, because while the construction estimate is 13.3 million, including this allowance, it's 13.67 million. We then have all the soft costs at the bottom of the sheet, which includes kind of the, all the numbers for A&E design fees, environmental fees, third party and commissioning fees, testing and inspection, builder's risk, some moving and relocation costs to move furniture and vault items from the current town hall up to the new town hall. But then some of the larger ones would be a $200,000 allowance, soft cost for furniture, $265,000 that's being carried for technology equipment, and then your owner's contingency of 5%, which equates to $683,695, which is what you will carry through construction for any change orders, whether it be unforeseen, owner's option, or any, anything missing from the contract documents. That's what the 683,000 is there to cover and carry you through construction. So all of that included brings you to the $15,886,000 total estimate. That was a bit long-winded, I know, but because of that, and there were some design decisions that were made throughout this process as we went from DD to CD, and probably the most significant that I want to point out was our mechanical systems. We were previously showing a VRF system, which is variable refrigerant flow. So that's like the sealing cassettes that I'm sure you're familiar with. And in addition to that, we had a supplemental perimeter fin tube radiation system, because the standard VRF, where it falls short in colder climates is when you get down to like the 0 to 10 degree range or below. And so that secondary supplemental heat would be there for that reason. However, we went back, analyzed our options, and there are hyperheat VRF systems, which are built to carry you through those extreme colds down to negative 10 degrees. There's an upcharge, certainly, for those over a standard VRF, but the savings of going to hyperheat and losing all the perimeter fin tube radiation around the entire perimeter of the building on the inside walls was a net cost savings, and it was significant. So we moved forward with that change to our mechanical system, which is really the reason we're sitting below the 16 million instead of right around the 16 million.
How substantial was that difference between those two systems?
Our estimator and our mechanical team, it's kind of fuzzy because there's we didn't break it down per each line item area. For instance, with the hyperheat VRF, there's more electrical costs that go into it.
Yeah.
It's but roughly $200,000 in savings by making that change is what we figured.
Wow, that's huge.
So in terms of the alternates, potential bid alternates that were reviewed and considered, if you all recall, our current plan for the exterior walls, so the inside face of the exterior walls currently in the 1928 building have metal studs and sheetrock. Our design currently reflects removing the sheetrock and the metal studs, placing new insulation on the inside face of the exterior wall, new metal studs, and new sheetrock. If we were to potentially leave the existing metal studs and still remove the sheetrock, insulate in between the existing metal studs, and then put new sheetrock on top, that's a potential cost savings of about $60,000. That's an alternate that we are recommending be considered, but even if it's pursued during construction, our recommendation is before we make a final decision with the contractor, we would want to start taking off some of this existing sheetrock and seeing the condition of those metal studs, because since everything's concealed, there is some concern that as the sheetrock's coming down, it might damage the metal studs. They might not be in great condition anyway, and we might be back to where we are today of saying just tear it all out and rebuild it. So that's just a bit of a safety net that we're recommending be up there for consideration as an alternate.
How confident are you that when you do the demo on that you don't damage them?
Depends on how they're fastened.
Yeah, it's more than likely they're gonna need to replace some of it, but not all of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like once they start the demo on it, they might ruin a couple of them.
Right.
And then once they know where they are on center, they can know how to go about doing the demo without damaging the rest.
Right. Yeah. And if the budget allows and the bids come in where we're expecting them to and on budget, our recommendation is not to even consider this, just, yeah, the contractor is probably gonna be happier that way too, because they can just tear everything out instead of trying to salvage specific pieces.
Right.
The other alternate, because we're under budget for consideration, is instead of relocating the existing generator to ask the contractors to price a new generator. And,
Yeah.
you know, again, if budget allows, that would be the ideal scenario. And so we may as well get a price when you're in the competitive bid environment, and that way you can make an informed decision.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's the not brief summary.
Okay. Questions? Jack, do you have anything?
Yes, sorry, there are some loud birds behind me, so, but muted. The perimeter heating system, is that a baseboard, Chris?
Correct.
So I guess I would think it would be a nicer building without baseboards too, so but throw that into the mix. So that sounds very good. And all these, the original $16 million budget, were there numbers in here for furniture and technology equipment and contingency? I think there was, correct?
Correct. Yes, we were always carrying soft costs and
Right.
pretty much the same line items. They've fluctuated a little bit as we've developed our drawings and gotten feedback from our design team. But yes, they were always in there in some capacity.
Good. Well, this seems better. And I guess so. This is not the actual bids. We're ready to put out the construction documents to bid now, I would assume, correct? After this meeting?
Yeah, after this, correct. I don't know if you want to talk to that, Kat.
Yeah, we were kind of trying to align the timing of the bid.
Oh, got it.
Demolition is occurring, so I believe, and this is just, don't totally quote me on this, but we were thinking June, end of June, early July, put this out to bid. It's out for a relatively, 3 to 4 weeks probably, and then around August timeframe, we would be awarding that bid, so that we're aligning that time with the high school project.
Is 3 or 4 weeks pretty typical for the bid time for a project like this size?
For this size, I'd probably suggest a little bit more, maybe 4 to 5 weeks. And certainly if we have the time, we can just put it out to bid a week early and give them more time than not. You're gonna get more accurate numbers that way.
Yeah, we have trouble getting a bid on a house that quick, so I just wonder. So
yeah, you may just want to start with 5 weeks, and they may still ask for an extension. But let's start there.
Well, maybe
theoretically, do we have that kind of time? I would say we do.
We do.
Yeah.
Because the demolition of the high school is, they're doing a certain pattern and path so that they can accommodate extra parking and kind of move through the high school. Our side of the building is probably one of the later times to do it, but we're working and having regular meetings with the high school so that we can time this right.
Okay, well, I agree with Chris that if we don't put potential bidders under pressure to meet a deadline, they're just gonna they're gonna highball it and give us inaccurate numbers. So I would rather have them do their homework and get it running.
We'll build that into the schedule that
we're
looking at. So
I think that sounds good.
Kathy, anything?
No, I'm pleased, and I like the add alternate with the generator, so that's good. And I think we're in really good shape. I think this is great.
Russ, anything?
No,
You wanna?
no, I think we're in good shape.
Okay. All right, so should we go on to C2, discuss the potential for site work as a separate bid?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Russ, why don't you take that?
Absolutely. So we've been discussing this as a separate bidding phase. We're still vetting out what our options would be. And I think we'll end up coming up with some kind of recommendation at the building committee level for next Tuesday. Right. So we're just trying to weigh out all our options and what would be in the best interest of the town financially.
To bid out the site work
Correct.
separately.
Correct.
Okay, and you feel that it's appropriate that we should do it at the full building committee?
At this point, I just think we're still going through, we're discussing the pros and cons of it.
Okay.
We still aren't complete on that yet.
Yeah.
But it's either we do it, bid it, or we don't. It's really, I think it's going to come down to a bunch of, it's going to come down to availability of what contractors are out there.
Okay.
And I think we just want to, before we sit here and make a recommendation to do it or do it,
Yeah.
I think we want to scratch the chalkboards a little bit more.
Okay, that's fine. I'd rather go into a full committee meeting having a lot more information than
Right.
a lot of unknowns right now.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that be.
And Russ, basically, and Peter, excuse me, I mean, this is just really all about trying to maximize efficiencies as best we can, because we have a high school project going on at the same time, right? So we're just still vetting it to figure out what's the best way to maximize how to get those efficiencies.
Correct.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do it. If not, let's see what our alternatives are.
Yeah. And we'll keep in the GC bids.
All right.
Okay.
Sure. Kat, we don't need to vote on it.
No, I think we're good. It was really, you guys need to vote on C1 to review and approve.
Okay. All right, so we'll jump back up. Jack, I'll just make the motion here. C1 to review and approve the construction document, cost estimate, and list of alternates. That's my motion.
I would second that.
Okay, and we're gonna vote, Jack. I vote yes.
Yes, too.
Okay, passes unanimous.
Excellent, great
How's
work.
that? Excellent. Okay, so we discussed C2. Are there other things, Chris, Russ, that we need to bring up?
I don't think so. No, I think with the numbers where they're at right now, I think we're in very good shape.
Okay, Kathy, anything?
No, I think we're in good shape, and our full meeting is Tuesday, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good.
All right.
I have one question. I always have one question. If the site work as a separate bid is to try and get a bid from the people that are doing the site work now for the high school, is that correct?
Correct.
Got it. Makes sense to me.
Sounds good. All right, we will adjourn this meeting.